sexy when you dance for me.
Buen dia, Chance.
Buen dia.
We're going backpacking, baby. Veleda, are you ready for your big introduction? Are you ready for your big introduction?
Wow, hello everyone.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Buen dia. I am Veleda Muller and I'm a postdoc with Barbara Carapa in the University of Arizona, and I work with tectonics and mountain building and the Andean orogeny and other orogens.
New face on the vlog.
New team member for real.
Veleda is an expert, particularly in Patagonia, which is pretty cool. We're a little bit to the north of Patagonia. We are in the south central Andes. If you've seen these videos before, we're in pretty similar area, and we're gonna go for a little backpacking trip up this drainage
Target
here,
acquired.
and we're gonna go measure some stratigraphic section. We're getting our stuff together. Chances somewhere probably pooping. Chance.
Yo. Hello.
Guess what? Veleda did her introduction while you were gone. Chance, do you have anything to say as we get going here? Any objectives or?
We are going up into the high mountains.
The ice has been broken. Veleda has been introduced. Time to romp. A little update for the homies. Chance and I have been doing field work in South America for probably 5 weeks. This is kind of our last big part of the field season, and it's been successful so far. If you've seen the channel, you know broadly what we do. Same stuff, different year, new discoveries, good times. We're going backpacking.
Yeehaw.
Ascending. I repeat, we are ascending.
Entering the zone.
Yeah.
Entering our zone of interest. Spent the whole day here yesterday, and we are going to introduce you to the regional geology, maybe some sedimentology
In this stuff. And then one is from the ignimbrite, and one is from the rhyolites.
Hey Chance, what is measuring stratigraphic section in the broadest terms? Why is it relevant to plate tectonics?
Measuring stratigraphic section is one of the most common techniques in sedimentology.
Sedimentology encompasses the study of modern sediments such as sand, silt, and clay, and the processes that result in their formation, transport, deposition, and diagenesis.
In which we take a Jacob staff,
Something like
essentially
this.
something It's about 1.5 meters that you can measure with. And we stick it against the rocks. We measure the thickness of the beds in centimeters, and then we describe what the beds look like, what kind of sedimentary structures we see, their color, their grain size, their sorting, like SED 101 stuff. We might call these lithofacies, different types of sedimentary rocks, basically.
Such as?
Yeah. And when you do this meter after meter, you begin to see like patterns arise, and we call these lithofacies assemblages, and those tell us about the ancient depositional environments in which these rocks were deposited. So here we are measuring a stack of pretty bizarre structureless red stuff, which I'll skip over because we're still thinking about it. And then you can see a basalt, kind of dark gray, a ignimbrite, or like a volcanic eruption ash.
Really light in color.
Yeah, and then above that stuff is what we're going to measure today. And we can tell you probably just from looking at it that this is a conglomerate. It's going to be mainly class supported, probably, and there will be intervals of some finer grain stuff like sandstones.
So we'll show some examples of this stuff too when we're up on the rocks. And so Chance was describing what we measured yesterday, these blasted red rocks below that are kind of recessive and erosive, and then the black and light layers up there, for example, would be depicted on a stratigraphic section. So we're recording this, like Chance said, at the meter or even like sub-meter scale, but this is kind of cool because we finished yesterday at that white bed, so you can see about 4.5 meters of basalt. It's that black rock. A little bit of conglomerate, and then we finished at that white tuff, so the next time we check in, we will be about there, and then we're going to work our way through the stack.
Sounds good. Right on.
We've started working our way up into these big stacked conglomerates. We have Chance and Veleda over here looking at some potential paleo flow indicators. This isn't the neatest stratigraphic section here, just getting warmed up, but you can see we're making notes of stacked conglomerates and more recessive coarse sandstones. Chilling. Got a lot of rock to measure. We have Chance up here standing on a bed of class supported cobble conglomerates interbedded with extremely pebbly, very coarse sand. Chance is about to measure something that we use as a paleo flow indicator. This is known as imbrication or imbricated clast. Imbrication is a paleo flow indicator because if let's just make an interpretation that these rocks were deposited by some sort of moving water, a fluvial system perhaps. These things stack on top of each other, kind of like the shingles on a roof, and they stack on top of each other so that perhaps counterintuitively they dip upstream. So these beds are dipping as a result of deformation in this area, but what the three of us can do is we can get rid of the dip and then use the orientation of these clasts to determine the direction, the azimuth that these rivers, interpreted rivers, were flowing. Imbrication, crash course in conglomerate sedimentology. Working.
It's interesting how there's like floaters of like cobbles in there.
Yeah, that is an interesting bed. Yeah. First update in a little while. We've gained some elevation and measured some of this beautiful conglomerate. Chance and Veleda are down here collecting a sample of a rare lithology, a boulder of sandstone. A majority of the class in this rock are volcanics, rhyolites, andesites, and various other eye contact.
Mainly rhyolites.
Mainly rhyolites. But what Veleda has in her hand here is a bag of this wonderful sandstone. Perhaps do some detrital thermochronology on it.
Yeah, we're hoping we can tell when the source of the material making up this conglomerate cooled, when it was eroded.
Right.
Which is a proxy for basically when mountains were forming.
Yeah.
So I'm dual wielding
Dueling.
one.
Teamwork. Notice this immense stack of rock has nice light right now. I think it's about 4 o'clock. We're working our way up the section here.
It's about 5 o'clock.
Life is good. It's about 5 o'clock. I gotta put my glasses on, bro.
Oh, it's okay. Oh, do we got it? We have enough?
Yeah.
No,
Look
it's to be used.
Look at Veleda hitting us with the Euro 9, also known as a G.
That is that's funny.
That
That
should be a 9.
We don't curve it at the bottom.
Really?
We're out here trying to figure out where we're gonna go tomorrow. A lot of options, but a lot of cliffs as well. Chance and Veleda, pretty cool. Fun day. Back at camp, about to set up our tents and go to bed. Gonna eat some food.
Serving up.
I just needed to get the camera back out because we were not satisfied by our 3 ramens at all. And we're making 3 more, even though our food is pretty low. We brought 9 ramens. All is well. Veleda was not satiated.
No, not at all.
Good. Maruchan.
Yum.
Insert 8-hour sleep here. Dreams of imbricated clasts and ojo de bife.
Baked by the sun every time I go to Mexico.
Back up we go. It's a beautiful Saturday. And mark my words, this is gonna be a big day. All right, well, we split up. It's about noon. Chance went to look at some rocks across the river, and we're facing some route finding difficulties, but I think I just found the way through. Veleda's exploring some other stuff up this talus slope, but I think we're gonna send it right up through this big drainage. We thought there might be a waterfall, but that's the section we measured yesterday. Our camp is around the corner there a little ways, but we're making some progress. Going back farther and farther. Almost time for some salami, am I right? You might be asking yourself how we managed to measure such large sections in such exquisite detail, and the answer is nicotine gum and salami. Yep. Hell. We just had some lunch. We are going to go back to work, blue collar labor. So we just had lunch, something kind of cool. You can probably see these super coarse rocks up above me. These are boulder conglomerates. They're extremely poorly sorted, meaning that the variability in the size of the clast is high. And there's a lot of coarse sandy material in here. And we have a feeling that we're going to be working our way up into a lot of this stuff. It's interesting. Here comes a sneeze.
Bless you, Caden.
It's interesting because there was a huge stack of lava flows in the middle of this section. And now we're looking at more gigantic stacked conglomerates. These are the kinds of things that are, especially when we're able to constrain the ages of these things. This is how sedimentologists and structural geologists constrain the evolution of mountain belts using the basin record. It's truly magical. For example, I'm kind of long-winded right now, but we just did a clast count, which is different. I told you yesterday about imbrication, which gives you insight into the flow direction of these probably braided rivers, and these are indeed imbricated. But what Veleda and I just did was we went along the outcrop and counted 100 clasts. The reason that this is important is because as you work your way, say, through a big pile of sedimentary rocks, you can get insight into how the source of these sediments are changing through time. That is, getting younger as we move up. And just like, for example, we noticed that there was a lot more granite as we got into these new conglomerates. In fact, there's one now. But yeah, we're having a lot of fun out here, and I hope that that makes some sense.
Well, it barely got me.
Who wants to stay smaller?
I'll eat it. This is a predicament. Chance took a bite out of this.
Well,
guy.
you told me to.
Well, we can easily eat 2 apples. Here. Great content.
Can I use the knife?
Couple of apples. Pretty solid day. Gained some elevation. Did some side hilling, and really, in reality, measured a big stack of rock.
Descending. I repeat, we are descending.
The scale of these conglomerates is really amazing. I came down a little ways, chances going up. Maybe you can see them in there. I might have to zoom in, but hopefully give some perspective on the rocks that we measured today. Beautiful stack of mostly cobble conglomerates. We went up at one point to this super thick ignimbrite. This is the result of an eruption of a volcano sometime in the Miocene. And we worked our way up earlier today through this canyon, which is where we're heading this evening to get out of here. It's been a beautiful day. There's our conglomerates on the other side. If you're an undergraduate, you might have learned about the rule of V's. This is all relevant up here, where you have drainages cutting in to dipping beds. You can see, I guess I haven't even said today, these beds are dipping about due west, dipping at about 35 degrees towards Chile, which is that way. And they interact with the topography as created by these streams and rivers in a way that is structurally helpful. But yeah, I'm just rambling now. It's been a beautiful day. Chance is right there. I'm having a lot of fun. We're gonna hike out of here, get back to camp. See ya. Wow. So if you remember the tuff, it's that white bed. We were up on it earlier. I showed it from a little bit closer. There's Veleda sending. And there's chance maybe for some scale. Almost home. Just made it back to camp after a very solid day. Going to organize our stuff, make some food, go to bed. Feeling kind of tired. He is in fact, some may say he is in love with the cocoa. All right, let's see what we got on the menu. Oh fuck, shit's hot. Will you pass me that bag of boom Arcor, the best on earth? We're gonna make some of this and touch the stars. All right, this is definitely the last thing of the night. I break it every, oh fuck. Delicious.
Dulce de leche on a cracker.
Thanks to Veleda for carrying this. It looks not good on the camera, but it's really delicious and sweet. See ya. Good morning, everybody. I feel like I'm about to make a confession for a crime I committed. Just waking up, drinking some mate, realized that we've been doing some pretty detailed work out there, so might be lacking on the educational aspects. Hopefully you've enjoyed the views. One thing that's interesting about this spot that I'm in here, that I might be blocking a little bit, is that we very clearly have a different lithology, a different rock type at the base of these big cliffs that are having the sunrise on them. Those big cliffs in the background look a lot like what we saw yesterday, conglomerates. We did measure those up the canyon. Stuff underneath, however, is a lot more recessive. It erodes in a way that kind of covers the rock type in a lot of cases, and has a strikingly different color. It's like a really bright red as opposed to brown. So when you come into a region as someone interested in tectonic questions and sedimentology and structure, we look at stuff like this and we think there was a pretty obvious change in the style of deposition, things like the energy of the depositional environment, perhaps the provenance, the source history of the material that makes the sedimentary rock. So we just measured through this section, and a reason that something like that is interesting is because in the context of tectonics, when we see big boulder conglomerates, it's really high energy, and doing things like class counts and measuring imbrication, we can learn eventually that these conglomerates are typically pretty proximal. They're pretty close to their source. That is, mountains or topography are being eroded, and they're contributing material that eventually turn into sedimentary rocks relatively close to that initial topography. something like the red stuff below the cliff might differ a little bit. It might be farther from an active mountain belt, for example. And we use Walder's law, which is the fact that laterally adjacent depositional environments, or certain sedimentary rocks in those environments, are deposited in a sequential stack as a result of the migration of those depositional systems. They naturally stack on top of one another. So we know that these rocks aren't overturned. So we come in here with the Jacob staff and we measure from older to the youngest possible, and then we reconstruct the basin history, tectonic history, using the rocks. And of course we're doing geologic mapping. We are aware of major regional faults responsible for mountain building, literally uplift of rock that enables erosion and exhumation. So that's kind of cool. It's just a beautiful thing. I usually tend to do this in videos, but being a geologist is such an amazing thing, because you kind of get a feel for walking into a place like this and being like, those look pretty fine-grained relative to the stuff above them. Those conglomerates are huge. You take one look, they're full of clasts of the westward adjacent mountain range. Like, these are probably alluvial fans, braided rivers that were draining like really proximal to where we are. Talking a lot, but it's just some geology to start the morning. Everyone's waking up. Cheers on the mate. Thanks for watching, everybody. I love you.
One thing that's fucked up is bad dope that I can't pump. This slab gotta re-up and re-bag. Blend it in with the screaming. All this blacks got is sports and entertainment. Until we even leaving. As long as I'm breathing. Can't knock the way you.
Doing some geology. We are currently doing a class count. Rhyolite. You see Veleda up there. Chance bagging some clasts here. Location unimportant. What is important is we are trying to stay in a single bed here and counting individual clasts. That is noting the composition of about 100 clasts in this bed. I think I mentioned it yesterday. But this approach can help us determine the provenance, the source history of the rocks of interest. Do you have anything to add about class counts, Chance?
These are some of the weirdest clasts we've ever seen.
Yeah, these clasts are bizarre. A lot of volcanics and some unidentifiable objects. All right, everybody, hopefully you can hear me over the sound of the water. You might have seen in the update this morning that really shocking white bed that separated the more recessive red beds from the cliff-forming conglomerates above. I wanted to take a quick second to emphasize the importance of beds like this. This is a tuff, a lapilli tuff. These kinds of rocks are the result of volcanic eruptions. Think about things like ash spewing from a caldera, pyroclastic flows, stuff like that. Volcanoes, volcanic activity. In this context, the reason rocks like this are really helpful is because they contain a lot of zircon. This is a mineral I've talked about on the channel. A rock like this, maybe a few times the size of this, will contain hundreds to thousands of small crystals that we can determine a radiometric age for, an absolute age, and that is by exploiting the ratio of uranium to lead in the crystal. I've talked about this on the channel before. In a more sedimentological context, this is really important. We use these things all the time because they give us really precise brackets or constraints on the timing of deposition. Obviously, if you have a conglomerate that's wedged between a tuff of this age and a tuff of this age, all of that rock had to accumulate between the eruption of those two. So we use these eventually to calculate things like subsidence rate, the rate of sediment accumulation, it is really beautiful. And I won't get into the details of uranium lead geochronology, but these things are very valuable to us. And it just so happens in this context that this tuff occurs at a major boundary, let's say, or a major surface between two dramatically different depositional environments. I gotta get going. We're working. Peace. Almost back to the truck. Well, we're gonna tie a loop on this vlog right now. Back at the truck, backpacked out of that same drainage. Saw some pretty sick geology up there. Yes, sir. Pretty happy with the discoveries we've made. Life of a geologist, you've seen this before, and you'll see it again, whether you like it or not. Peace out. See you soon.